4L60E valve body. So I'm going to go over some modifications you can do for free or for rather cheap, or something that you probably really should do. So one of the modifications you can do for free is, this is our factory torque converter valve. If you take a check ball and you put a check ball on the inside of each side of the spring and push it back in there, that will remove your pulse width modulation. So this one is a transgo valve. It moves rings around and does somewhat of the same thing. They're both designed to, or both methods are designed to remove your pulse width modulation. So the transgo kit for the base kit, the SK kit's like $50. So I suggest buying that kit at the bare minimum, but there are some things you can do without that kit. One thing that you should always do is put the O-ring end plugs in. So the end plugs will wear. You can see where it's not shiny on the end of the end plug. When it goes inside here, there will create a hydraulic leak for where the end plug is wore away at. The bore will also be worn. So when you put the O-ring end plug in, it covers up that hydraulic leak. These two valves will go back in same way as the factory did them, just with the end plug O-rings. Another modification that's very popular is replacing your 3-2 downshift valve spring. The transgo kit is going to basically take this same spring, they're going to paint it white, and they're going to put it with the AFL spring. So if you don't buy the transgo kit, you can take that spring, put it right there, and it's the exact same spring. You can take a abuse bore spring and replace that spring, and what that's going to do is going to push that valve inward and pin it there. So that covers up a hydraulic leak in the 3/4 clutch. Another thing you should always do is replace your abuse bore plug. This is the transgo one, so that is another spot where you will have a 3/4 hydraulic leak. Here is the abuse bore plug, and you can see how it is washed. So that is hydraulic fluid bypassing, more or less. Another thing you do is your 3/2 downshift valve. You can take your torque converter, the small end of the torque converter valve, and grind a little bit off of it, and just go slow with it. So you're going to put this valve in the body, and then grind this plug until the point where you can get your 3/2 downshift valve in the bore and the assembly with basically no movement. This also covers up a hydraulic leak in the 3/4 clutch pack. So whether you get the transgo kit or put this 3/2 spring in here, it does the same thing. Another thing I highly suggest is, this is I want to say it's central valve body. I can't remember the exact name, but this is a drop-in oversized AFL valve. I believe they are the only ones that make the drop-in AFL valve. Transgo and Sonics both make a removable valve. Just about everyone I ever take apart, it seems like the factory ones, they'll vacuum test at 10 to 14 inches, somewhere in there. It seems like with putting this valve in, I'll gain 3 to 4 inches of vacuum. After this is all back together, I will vacuum test the whole valve body, make sure everything passes. If anything does fail, that's when I'll do reaming valves. So next we have our 1-2 accumulator. And there's two different things that you can do here. So what Sonics does is they will use the factory spring, and they will give you this piece of 1/8 inch steel. And they just taper the ends of it on it, and they'll just tell you to drop it inside that hole with the factory spring, and basically what that does is increases your spring tension on it. Transgo, when you get their kit, it will come with several different springs. And there's a code on the back of the valve here, and this one is DX. And you come over here to this chart, and you will find the numbers that are on your servo, and then you will find your bushing. So this one's getting into Corvette servo, so it is this 93 or 95. And we have a DX, so we're going to put a white spring in this one. And here's the Sonics instructions. They'll tell you to shove a feeler gauge down in here so you don't have to take the valve out. I suggest taking the valve out so you can clean behind it, and then just shoving your piece of 1/8 inch steel in there. Next thing I like to do is on a performance build, I will run the Sonics 2-3 shift valve, and what this does is apply the overrun clutches in every gear when you're in D3. So that increases the strength of your sprag assembly. This valve will stay the same. I like to replace the forward abuse bore plug. This is just a new Sonics one. You cannot run the Transgo one back here. It will apply your low reverse clutch all the time. I did it once, and luckily I did it on my personal transmission. But the Transgo plug is slightly longer. So if you try to take that threaded end in and put it in place of that, it will shuttle your low reverse valve over applying that clutch. So Transgo cannot go in the back. And then another must upgrade is you don't necessarily have to have the Sonics dual seal one, but the factory will come with a aluminum piston, and you need to replace that aluminum piston, or plastic piston, sorry. The factory will come with a plastic piston, and you need to replace that with a aluminum piston. So the plastic pistons will crack, creating a hydraulic leak.